Eddie, thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad to be here.
Me too. Let's begin our dive into your world by asking you this. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed so much, especially in real estate. How did you get through the coronavirus era, and how has it changed the way that you approach things in 2026?
Well, it's very funny. I have a note buying operation that I've run for 45 years, right? And I have a school that I teach people how to do notes, how to buy notes. And, up until then, we had never really done 2 and 3 day classes online and virtually. That was kind of perceived that you couldn't do that. And all of a sudden, bam, here we were, March of 2020, and we had to stop and go figure it out like right now. And I give my team a lot of credit. We did that. We buy notes virtually. We've been doing that for decades. So that wasn't really weird. But teaching people how to go do it when we're normally used to, come to a class and come to Dallas and hang out with us and all that kind of stuff, that was really quite different. And I would say that we got really good at it, and we're still actually utilizing some of those same skills today.
So if we got a handle on what you do on a daily basis, I'm going to
Mhm.
put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day. And to synthesize this world that you do, the business you run, how would you explain what you do to a 12-year-old?
Well, I teach small operators. Some people can do only one deal, some people could do 10 deals, but I teach people how to be the bank. Your mom and dad buy a house and maybe they don't have all the cash in the bank to buy it. The house is kind of expensive. So they go to the bank and borrow money, and to borrow that money, they pay the bank interest. They pay them, as they borrow the money, they pay a certain amount of, fee to borrow that money. It's fair. The bank makes money, but they're lending you the money. So I teach people how to go be the bank instead of owning a rent house and having a lot of headaches with people tearing it up, and maybe it goes wrong in some way that, you know, you didn't know about, or just all that. It's a lot easier to be the bank, and that's what I teach. That's what I teach people how to do.
So when you were 12 years old, what was your dream job? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, if you can see that the fuzzy background, you can see a lot of horse pictures.
Yeah.
And actually, I am a former two-time world champion amateur roper. So I really was a cowboy. I grew up in a cattle auction barn, and I thought my life was going to be horses or ranches. And I graduated from a ranch management program in Texas Christian University in 1980, and interest rates were 21%. And the ranching business, like a lot of businesses, was really in the tank. And so my life changed. And so I was kind of going along my way. I was actually a horse inspector, and I met not even my girlfriend yet, just a friend. I met her dad. I've been now married to that girl for 43 years, but I met her dad, and he introduced me to this idea of buying notes. And I wouldn't have dreamed it in a million years. And I just say it was dumb luck. It's the best dumb luck a guy could have ever had, other than the girl I got.
So what was it like when you grasped this idea? Because when you say that to just someone like me, just a guy with feet on the ground, I got a mortgage, I'm doing what most people do. When, how long did it take for this to make sense to you to be like, you know what? I want to teach people this and I want this to be my life.
Well, I was mentored by two really smart guys, but they had no training. So I stumbled my way through, and it took me longer to get it, and longer to get the clarity, and longer to paint the picture, because as smart as they were, they just didn't have a learning process built. So I go in the business for 20 years, right? I'm 1980 to 19 around 2000. And I'd never really done much training, other than I did develop the note system for home investors, the ugly house guys.
Yeah.
So I helped them for about 10 years train. And so I trained people of real estate investors how to utilize, creating notes, and then they could sell the notes to me. But I'd never really thought about the training business until I woke up and realized I had all of these people that could do business with me, but the bridge to cross was too wide. And so that how you build that bridge across it was information and education. So I built essentially what was a school I later called NoteSchool. I may not have thought of that the day I started, but that's really what it was. And so I started teaching people to go do this business. And, you know, 25 years, we've had thousands and thousands of people that we've had come through the school and learn. And as you said, like it sounds like a cool idea, but then all of a sudden people think they can't do it. And our job is to say, how did Eddie Speed start? With no money, living in 10 by 40 mobile homes, about 40 years old in 1980. How did I go from that Eddie Speed to buying notes? And the answer is I had a mentor, I had education, they had some money that I didn't have. They had some knowledge that I didn't have, but they taught me what to go do so that I could make some money with them. And so that's what I built Note School on the premise of. Some people show up and they don't have any money. They're young Eddie Speed. A very super cool things that I can teach people to do today. The best market opportunity I believe I've ever seen in my career, literally today, best market opportunity I've ever seen in all my 45 years is right now in front of us. And we built kind of a machine that we go take people that don't have a lot of money but want to go, you know, go chase some deals, and we show them how to go chase deals. And the cool thing about chasing notes, everybody's chasing houses. How many people do you know that chase notes?
This is news to me.
Not much competition.
Nope.
Not much. You see that? So it's not a, if you're chasing house buying, I hang out with the studs in the house buying business on a regular basis. And I'm telling you, it's a really crowded field. But notes is not a crowded field, although there's a big opportunity. And so I can show a young Eddie Speed, and they don't have to be 20 years old. I got my dad in the business at 68 years old. He told me 1,000 times, if not 10,000, before he passed away in his mid 80s, son, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life, and I've never done anything that I made more money doing or enjoyed doing more. And so I think it was really cool that I got to go do that. So he
Yeah.
was 68 and I was 20. So I
Wow.
need somebody between 88 and 20. How about that?
Yeah.
Or 18. How about that?
Yeah.
So something like that. And then there's the other side. And so some people they have a little money. They don't have quite as much time. They're whatever they do, and they've had rent houses, or maybe they haven't had, maybe they've had friends with rent houses. And everybody's kind of heard like, oh, these things are a whipping. Like there's not so fun. Or the next investment I make won't be another rent house. I'm living through the ones I've got, but I'd like to not have, I want to make more income in less time. And that is what notes are compared to rentals.
So you have the school. You're kind of the Yoda of the school. You're the wise one that's done this for a while. You stay up on the markets. You know how this works. But when you're the teacher, you still learn from the student.
Oh yeah.
What have you learned over the years of teaching and helping and getting the world more acclimated to what you're doing, which is a niche market? What have you learned? What's been surprising about this process?
So 25 years ago when I formed this school, I'm thinking I I'm the number one seller finance note guy in the country. And I was, right? I've bought 50,000 seller finance notes, literally, right? And so I'd done all this business and I knew how to do it. And I was kind of regarded as that guy. And I thought, what I'm going to teach people how to do is I'm going to teach them how to go do what I do, how to go find notes, how to go do all this stuff. And for a certain segment of my students, they have time to go do it and they they do it, right? But for a certain segment of my students, guess what they don't want to go do? They don't have the confidence to go find notes. and they don't have the connections to go find notes. And so later in our career, call it in the last 5 years, we stopped and really looked in the mirror. We sat in the conference room for that 2 or 3 days and just said, what can we do to make our students the most successful we could do? And it jumped off the page at us is that we needed done for you services. We needed to go help them with the things that were difficult for them to get started or difficult for them to continue to do it. So we started figuring out how to go find notes for them and figured out how to automate underwriting and give them stuff that we had already put together in our back office that said that would be a deal good enough for us. And now all of a sudden we could shortcut the confidence they needed, the time that they needed, the resources that they needed. We could then give them that. And I think we made a gigantic change that drastically changed how difficult it was to go do the business. Made it a lot easier.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few questions ago, mentors, but overall, when you look at the arc and the timeline of your life of getting this knowledge and becoming successful, who's been that inspirational force, that heroic force in your life?
Well, a few people. I would give my father-in-law credit. My father-in-law sadly passed away 28 years ago. And so God knew he was going to die then, but we didn't. And so I felt like that because I still run a family note buying business 28 years later for my wife's family. So he taught me this. God already knew the next thing that was going to happen. None of us did.
Yeah.
And so he prepared me for that journey. The guy that founded Homevestors, Ken D'Angelo, that guy was brilliant. The ugly house billboards, that was his brain. That wasn't a marketing company. He thought of that. He was one of the smartest people I've ever been around, innovative. And he taught me the idea of how to scale and how to scale teaching because he built this franchise for people to buy houses. So he was a really influential guy with me. Um, you know, one of my mentors today, who I would laugh and say, he says he's a mentor. I'm his mentor, but he's a younger guy than me, smartest guy I know in the business. And we're doing some like Star Wars stuff with those guys that just is going to revolutionize the business. We're basically bringing buying loans to blockchain, and that we've got that in motion, and I'm really fired up about that. Here's the thing that I've learned. When I describe the business to you, Joe, and it could be you or 100 other podcasts that I've been on, people are like, that's pretty cool. You
Yeah.
know, you're the bank and you're not a landlord. You actually make more cash flow than the landlord makes because you get paid first and the landlord gets paid last. Landlording has some headaches with it. And this notes are just, I believe, in today's economy is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
But then people say, but okay, but then they start trying to figure out why they don't fit. And what our job is to show you there's a bridge that's been built that shows you how you can fit. And that is when you do that, then all of a sudden I think you just remove the things that stop them from doing it.
So you're clearly a visionary. You're doing something that's very unique and you're a visionary thinker. If you could meet another visionary human on the planet right now that's doing wonderful things, you could have a lunch, talk to them, someone that might help you on your journey further. Who would you love to meet and talk to?
That's a great question. Um, it would probably be like Bezos
Yeah.
or be somebody that just had taken it to a level that they couldn't have perceived otherwise. And because I think I'm at the cusp of doing that. I think that if, you know, listen, there's 18 million rent houses and not a bunch of happy landlords. Like, I think we're on the verge of really showing people some cool stuff. And I'm constantly trying to reach out and figure out how to, provide things for people so they don't have to go, you know, build it all themselves. Think about anything in life, right? If everybody loves living in a new home, but if I told you you had to go build your own home, most people couldn't do that, right? So I want to be that bridge builder. I want to build things to help people get over to what they want on the other side. I know what the other side looks like. They're going to like it. And I'm constantly trying to figure out how to help build things to help them get to the other side.
So speaking of the other side, when you talk about people like Jeff Bezos and what you're doing, on the other side of success or headaches, there's a lot of things that go on that side that people don't see that can be taxing. What is it when that alarm clock goes off in the morning that gives you this gumption, this energy to do this work at a high level, successfully, helping others and taking care of your soul? What is that for you?
I don't, I think I've got a lot of cowboy common sense. I don't think I'm a brilliant guy, but I do have some brilliant friends and brilliant people on my team. And so I'm blessed that I have people that like think about those that have a genius zone in those areas that I don't necessarily have, that show me scale and show me efficiencies and show me processes that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of. But I will say this. They do buy into my vision, Joe. So you said an important thing is if you're the guy that's leading this group, you got to have a vision.
Yeah.
You got to know what you got to know where you're going to go.
Hmm.
How you get there is not as important as that you have a vision and knowing where you're going.
So, having this passion and loving what you've been doing for decades, it's very clear and evident. But when you think about that word retirement, when that big word flashes with twirling lights all around it, what goes into your head? What do you think about?
Oh, you're saying, why am I interviewing this guy that's 66 years old and it sounds like he's as fired up as he's ever been in the business? You know who doesn't retire? People that love what they do.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't mean not having freedom moments. I don't mean, just grinding all the time. To be honest with you, I don't really grind all the time. I have people that work for me that grind. I get to go do cool stuff like this a lot, and this didn't work to me.
yeah. So, if you had a dream tonight, ran into that version of you in that mobile home before you met your father-in-law and your future wife, and there was a film projector next to you, and you walked in at your age and hit play, and a 60-second highlight reel of your life came up, would that young version of you believe that you were the architect of this existence?
No way. And my statement to you today was the old saying, dispel your disbelief. Because I would tell you that there's no way I could have dreamed that. And I'm not acting like I'm the most successful dude in the world. Please don't, I don't want the audience to feel that I'm saying that.
Sure.
But I've done things that I couldn't have envisioned doing. And it is that first of all, when you get introduced to a good business, that's a gigantic help. Some people some people just have a job every day they don't like, and some people every day are working at something that you can never become insanely successful at. You may be field inside, but its potential is just not awesome, right?
Yeah.
It's not that great. I got introduced to a business that did have a big upside. So I got into a good business. My father-in-law was right. He introduced me to something that I could do good at. And secondly, the thing that I didn't understand that now 45 years later, I completely understand. I fell into a business that I could love every day. And that's this enthusiasm is not a skit. This is just Eddie Speed. I mean, if you were around anybody that knew me well, you're going to say you're not going to spend social time with Eddie or any other time with Eddie, that something isn't going to come up that you're going to figure out at this age and as many years as he's been doing it, he is fired up about what he gets to go do every day. And I just think like that's just a blessing. I don't know that I deserve that blessing, but I'm grateful God chose to give it to me.
So the one thing that can change our paths and lives in our life is like kind things that people do for us. What's one of the nicest things that somebody did to you, for you, that changed the trajectory of your life?
Um, I had a wealthy oil man send me to college and pay me a stipend every month so I could afford to live.
Wow.
Yeah, that was before I was introduced to notes.
Wow. So, what at 20 plus minutes into this, I feel like it's a movie preview. You know, when you watch a movie preview, you kind of have an idea what's going on, and then you're like, I want to watch that. It feels like you're inviting people to a movie. And after they watch the movie, they're going to get the plot. They're going to get the characters. They're going to get the emotive, the all of it. Is that kind of exactly what we're doing right now? Is we're making a preview to a movie?
You know, clearly I've bought 50,000 notes. I could answer every technical question probably that you could throw at me. And that wouldn't do our audience any good, right? Because what they need to know is what is he fired up about? Right? And is this a business worth getting fired up about? Is this something that's an opportunity that people just didn't know about? And so you've done a beautiful job of like highlighting what you can see as my enthusiasm. And if you've been doing something for 45 years and you're still that enthusiastic about it, it must be something to it.
Well, for everything that you've talked about, the fact that your father said that you did one of the most magnanimous things after the unconditional love that he gave you for all those years, that's proof in every pudding that you can taste right there. Um, so aside from your family, obviously, when you look back on your life, what are you the proudest of? What stands at the top?
Um, my kids,
Yeah.
I've got three kids and I'm blessed. I know some really good parents that don't have great kids. So let me first of all say that if you have great kids and you don't see it as a blessing, that's sort of a fool's game. You are blessed. But I am blessed. And I have kids that I love and I'm proud of, and they are good at what they do, and they are proud of their mom and I. My wife is also in this business. She's focused on our retirement side of the business and legacy building. And you'll find out if you kind of go down the trail in note school, like Martha is like a rock star because she's become very focused on something that we could duplicate over and over. And it's really a cool retirement legacy building technique. But uh, just that my kids they're, first of all, they're good citizens. They're go-givers. People are blessed that they have a relationship with my kids. And so, you're just thinking God gave you these little creatures, and it sure is the most meaningful thing that you got to go influence them a little bit. And they were good eggs, and now all of a sudden they're good citizens, and now they're go-givers in their sphere as well.
So part of your legacy, you moved backwards and got your dad involved with it. So is the future legacy, are any of your kids going to follow in your footsteps?
Oh yeah.
So will they take over your dynasty?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. At the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you in the real estate and beyond, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm creative, and I'm tenacious. I'm not brilliant, but I've stayed in the same industry for 45 years. I've not given up when a lot of people gave up on things, and so I just think that being tenacious is a better trait than we could think up. And so I think I've been given that skill or that whatever that fire. And I just love being creative. It's the funnest part of any day is when I get to go, even a problem. How do you creatively solve a problem instead of just seeing the wall and there's no way to get over it? I was in a meeting literally a little bit ago talking to my fractional CFO. Lady's been with me 34 years in this business, and I was telling them how just a few nights ago I had a barrier and I couldn't see how to get over it. And I kind of chronicled how I did that. And I just said, even in this now, it's not that I don't have problems. It's not I don't have moments that I'm not quite sure what to do next. It's figuring out how to walk yourself out of the problem is what may be a little experience. And now what I try to teach other people how to do, this is how you think your way out of an issue instead of just giving up.
So clearly having curiosity and an adventurous spirit. If you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history, where are you going to go? What do you want to see?
Well, I'm a cowboy. I'd like to spend a week on the trail. I don't know that I wanted that life all my time, but I sure would love to go back there and walk and drive cattle up the Chisholm Trail for a week.
Yeah, what a great answer.
I'm
So
not
if
sure
any,
I'd like the bugs and the
right,
and sleeping on the ground. I'm not sure. I may not be tough enough to go do it but I'd like to see it. Yeah.
living in this modern era is pretty nice. I tell you that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. If anyone isn't ready for the next step, they want to get involved with the school, they have questions, they want to dive into your world, where do they go? Where's the best place?
Well, I'm going to give you two options. Okay. I'd like for you to take both. First of all, we have a really cool podcast too, and it's on YouTube, NoteSchool TV. And it's a lot of stories about a lot of students that have done what we taught them to do. So it's not focused on Eddie, it's focused on other people implementing the ideas that we've been able to help them with. Right? So it's pretty good. It's a good podcast. It's a thumbs up, I think for sure. Note School TV on YouTube. And the second thing is that we can take people down a little journey in this business and give them some information along the way that just starts giving them some details and some framework of the how-tos. We hadn't talked about a lot of how-tos today. We're talking about why you would do it, right? But we're going to give them some how-tos, and that is going to be noteschool.com/famous.
Love it.
Yeah.
I will put those links in the show notes. Eddie Speed, this has been an absolute honor. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful new year, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. All right.